My name is Miguel. I am one of the founders of Comercio Popular. Comercio Popular is a project that we like to call project concept. And we work with designers and brands from Mexico, all over Mexico, from Mérida to Puebla to Tijuana, Mexico City, of course. And the idea is to present projects from all over the country having to do with design. So everything from clothing, home goods, and whatnot. As the project has grown, the project's 4 years old. As the project has grown, we've incorporated other things that are very near and dear to us, like culture, art, music, or whatnot. But more than anything, we also kind of want to be a platform for other brands, Latinx brands, local brands. So along with Flores Camposanto, we offer this space to have people like Jess come through, present their projects, things that align with us more than anything, in terms of like culture and heritage and all those things that matter to us. So thank you everybody for being here. If you have any questions, let us know. But this is really SBJ/Jess's moment and our wonderful panelists today. I'm up here mostly because I'm a chismoso. So I will be moderating / asking follow-up questions, and hopefully this is really a community dialogue. We want this to be a conversation not only between us, but with you all as well. So thank you for being here.
So as Miguel said, my name is Jessica Monsalvo, and I'm the founder of SBJ Essentials. SBJ Essentials is a self-care brand that's rooted in Latin culture for the essential self-care needs of the modern world. And I'll be moderating today's talk along with Miguel. And our conversation really centers around the process, inspiration, and balancing well-being through your uncommon spaces. Our goal for today is to really explore these three themes so that we can leave with a greater perspective and give and create space to our Latinx voices. Before I introduce our panelists, I would like to get a feel for the room. So with a show of hands, who here identifies as a creative? Ooh, I love it. Who here identifies as an entrepreneur? Amazing. And then who here has been told they're a creative or an entrepreneur, but doesn't really identify with either? All right. He's like, I'm all three. No, I love that. So I can tell this is going to be such a beautiful conversation. So with that said, I want to thank our panelists for lending us their voice and their wisdom. So today, I'm taking a note school. Normally we would have like a little note card, but cell phones are in. Today we have Alicia Arredondo, thank you. And her work sits at the intersection of hospitality, and she uplifts marginalized cultures, often curates accessories and clothing. She's also the educator for Del Maguey and enjoys storytelling through her video and photo. Bianca Garcia, unfortunately, couldn't be here with us, but she's here in spirit. So lastly, we have Alex Flores. He's a designer, an entrepreneur, founder of SCRL and ISM app, an investor in 2 restaurants in Mexico City, as well as a strategy consultant for Spotify. So let's welcome them with a warm round of applause. So this leads us to our conversation. So as I was going through their bios, one of the things that really spoke to me is how many different hats we wear as entrepreneurs and creatives. So as founder of SBJ Essential, I am the customer service rep, I am the cosmetic chemist, I am the curator, I am sometimes creative director. You name a hat, I wear it, right? So my question to you guys is, how do you navigate well-being in your careers? So we're getting to the meat and potatoes, we want to know. We're starting off with the yin and yang. How are you balancing well-being in your career?
Is this on? Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a great question to start off on. And I think it's a it's a multi-layered question. I don't think that it's always easy, and I find myself finding balance in understanding that that is okay to feel off balance sometimes and to not have a very explicit, answer to that question. I work with Del Maguey, which is a mezcal company, and then I also happen to be a real estate agent as well in Chicago. Both of these things started just about a year ago. It was a couple months after my dad had passed away, and I found myself kind of really swimming in the chaos. And I'm slowly starting to come out of that, which feels really nice. Also, understanding that it's not just about propelling our careers forward, it's about propelling our relationships forward as well. So yeah, I don't know, again, it's I don't know that I have an explicitly direct answer to that question. But yeah, I feel really comforted knowing that is very okay. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I like your answer.
It's piggybacking off of that.
Because I do agree, there's really no rules to this. But I tend to do a lot of things at once, like the Spotify, my app. What else do I do? And some other projects that I'm working on right now. And I try not to make work my priority. I know it sounds weird, but I value a lot of things outside of work too. And I think that keeps me balanced. We were just talking about this earlier, but there's so many things to life that make me good to work, at the right mindset. And I go to therapy. So there was this one thing that I talked about with my therapist, and it was more than work, there's relationships with your family, with your friends, your love life, your faith and spirituality. And sorry. I try to do good on those, and that gives me the energy to do good in my work, honestly. So that gets me the energy. And I don't always put work, make it so cool and burn myself out. So be good in others, and then you'll be good at work.
I love that. I think that when, SBJ Essentials became a concept, self-care was definitely always at the forefront. And trying to figure out what self-care looked like for different people is always something that we're exploring for sure. Because when we think about self-care, we often think about the physical aspect of it, So if you're hitting the gym or if you're doing your skincare routine, but what we often neglect to put in the forefront is sometimes the different pillars that come with self-care. So financial self-care, mental self-care, emotional self-care, spiritual self-care, as Alex pointed out. So it's really beautiful to see that, Alicia and Alex find self-care in such different spaces, yet it all encourages the way that they do and go about their day. So I would love to know how that, self-care propels you to kind of generate the process of work, because for me, I think that self-care really helps me throughout the process. If I'm not mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally connected with myself and not taking that time, sometimes I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? What does this process look like? So for you guys, since self-care looks so different for both of you guys, what does that inspire? How does that process come about in the sense of, does the process propel the inspiration? Does self-care propel the process? How are those kind of interconnected for you guys? Alicia, do you want to go?
Sure. It's I'm going to give a lot of non-answers today. I just want to, yeah. I was I want to first and foremost say I'm an Aquarius.
All right, since we're sharing, I'm a Virgo. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a Taurus. Taurus with Virgo rising.
But, I think kind of piggybacking on what you said, I think that it's really hard to show up as your whole self if you are not yourself grounded and, you know, just kind of complete. And I think for me, sleep. Like sleep, it's so important to me. I know it sounds so silly. My partner's laughing because I love sleep. But more than anything, it's just, it's finding comfort in being idle. And it's something that I struggled with for a really long time. You know, I was that young person that was like, I haven't had a day off in, 45 days. And I felt really proud about that at one point, just super fed into that really toxic need to
hustle culture.
Yeah, to show my worth by how much I historically hustled and, but I'm 37 now. I'm so happy that I've found myself on the other side of things. Like, I really value my rest. I enjoy having a day of doing absolutely nothing. And I do it without guilt. I don't apologize for it anymore. And that feels so good. And that allows me to show up for all of the other elements of my life, balanced and energetic and excited. And I think before I just led with exhaustion and chaos. Yeah.
And with that, do you feel that self-care encourages the process of you being a multifaceted person, or do you feel like the process encourages inspiration? So for me, I think that I find inspiration through the process. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I feel like a lot of people are like, I need to feel inspired to start the process of creating or start the process of doing. Whereas for me, I'm like, I want to start and see what sparks. How does that work for you?
Well, it also depends on what type of creative you find yourself kind of identifying as, right? I think that for me, identifying as a creative has felt really difficult in my past. I mean, I think imposter syndrome is a very real thing. I think we're all very familiar with that language, but again, it kind of the way that you see yourself, I think would kind of help direct that answer. For me, it is really hard for me to find inspiration in anything if I am drowning in kind of like that hustle, go. I think that feeds some people, and I'm not here to say that anyone's doing anything right or wrong, but I've learned that it's just, it just becomes so mundane and so routine, even when it's moving at 100 miles an hour. So
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
I think that there was this thing, when we think about self-care, like how you said, it could look different for other people. And how you said financially self-care is one thing, and something else self-care. I really value finance and wealth and being financially free. So that motivates me to navigate my work differently than others. So I put my values on top like an umbrella, and that it doesn't dictate it, but it really molds the way you work. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I see it. Like, my values are always on top, and especially as a Latino, I feel like in the Latinx world, we don't really talk about being wealthy and not feeling guilty about that. I value money. I want to be rich. I don't care. And I want to help my family because they didn't come off that, and I want to build something. I want to build a legacy. That's my main purpose in life, building a legacy. So how does a legacy look like for me? It might look something different for y'all, but for me, I realized that these are my passions, and with my values on top, that's the way I navigate. So it looks very different for me, like how you said, it looks different for everyone. And I think respecting your values is the most important thing, and not aligning with your values, you're gonna start regretting some things. So I really try to align with my values all the time, and even doing small things and being a kind person day to day, but seeing the overview and then seeing something as small as that. So yeah, that's my answer.
I love that. Go ahead, Miguel.
Can I ask a follow-up question? I'm just curious, one of what are those values? But also, I think you said something very important of like, it's okay to value wealth.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how you disrobe that. How do you gain that sort of like confidence in valuing wealth and saying it's like, I can take care of myself, but I could also take care of my family.
Yeah, I could talk about this for hours, honestly. Like
that's why we brought you here.
This is like one of the main topics for me. Like, I believe that we shouldn't be scared of like trying to be financially free or wealthy. And I really believe that we are kings and queens. Like, I really feel like we should be in these spaces. And like, why is it always when I go to these spaces that I'm the only Latinx person there? Like, I don't like that. And I feel like we should not, this is turning into a different topic, but I feel like I'm just not scared of that anymore. Like, I feel like we deserve those spaces.
Yeah.
And not only like these brands invite you to these spaces, but like sometimes they're condescending towards you. And I'm like at a higher level than them now. Like, I just feel like, I'm like, you shouldn't be talking to me like this anymore. Like, I'm at a different level now. So like, I'm not scared of that like anymore. And like, I just feel we deserve to be in these spaces now, and because of our history. And I am really, really passionate about this topic.
And particularly with all three of you, I think, and I think that's what sort of like propelled sort of the theme of the conversation of like, we're all navigating uncommon spaces where we don't often see ourselves reflected or find a peer or something like that. So I'm curious that perhaps it could be helpful for others. What took you there? What gave you that confidence to kind of like be like, hey, I belong here? Like, I'm just curious for each one of you more than anything. What was that little like tip or trick or like finally tipped you over and be like, that's cool. I belong here. It doesn't matter.
Like, yes, I will go first again. Yeah. I was like, no time to think. No, I'm joking.
I love this question. So anyone who knows me knows that I love money too. I'm like right there. I'm right there with you, Alex. And growing up Latina, I think that there's so much stigma placed behind financial literacy. So growing up, it was almost like a burden to like money. It was like money has so much stigma behind it where it's like money is bad, money is evil, money is greedy. So as I was developing in my makeup artistry career, I've been doing makeup for over 10 years, have worked with really beautiful brands, Nike, Adidas, HBO, Telemundo, you name it, I've probably done it. Beyonce. And who's that? And as I was navigating the space and didn't see other Latinas on set, it was definitely always shocking. And I'm like, wow, like I'm the only Latina on set, you know? So I think for me, financial literacy was definitely something that gave me confidence into understanding that if I want to, you know, dream up $1 million, why not? If I want to have $1, why not? You know what I mean? And I think that financial freedom looks different for everybody. But one of the things that really set my mindset apart was taking that time to learn about finances. Like, what does this mean? Why do I need this? Why is this important? Why is there so much trauma behind it? And having these kind of conversations, I think, is one of the most important things, because I think that a lot of the times we feel isolated in our thoughts, where you feel like you're literally the only person that feels like this. And since there is stigma behind it, you feel shy to share that you love one thing or another. And I think for me, that was such a big thing. Sometimes when I would talk to my sister about it, she has a very different perspective on finance. And I would be like, but I love it, you know? The toxic relationship, no. So again, I guess just to answer that question, definitely financial literacy, taking that time to read books. And if you're not a reader, that's okay. There's Audible now. Like, you can, listen to it at work, which leads me to thinking about what today's conversation is kind of about like senses. So what you're hearing on a day-to-day basis is super important. Like, are you waking up and putting on your trap, which is A-okay? Or are you waking up and being like, you know what, today I'm gonna give myself 10 minutes of financial literacy. Maybe that'll change my perspective on how I feel. Today I'm gonna give myself 10 minutes of French. Maybe I'll learn one word, and I think that's so important in the way that we're consuming news and the way that we're consuming dialogue and the way that we're consuming visually. Like, we have a little control over these things on our day-to-day basis, would be my answer. So leading with that, Alicia didn't answer. But.
I have the same experience as you, and I'm not gonna. I'll try not to talk about finance too much in this, but like it is a big part of my life. Like I remember, my mom had to drop out from the 3rd grade back in Mexico, living with her mom only, and my dad didn't finish college. So when they came here, it's more about survival, and my parents don't even speak English on top of that. I'm from here, I grew up right here in Little Village. So I remember this vividly. When I was younger, I think I was in college or after college, I was like, I'm gonna be a millionaire. I said that in the dinner table. And they were laughing, but it was not because they didn't support me, they didn't believe in me. It's just out of their reach, their mentality. Because money for them is paying the bills, giving some for us if we needed it for school, for work, for anything, survival. So coming with a statement like that at a dinner table, like, it's just very off. But like I said, like, I just believe in how we could achieve things like this. It's not even about the money to me. It's about building a legacy with what you do with money. Like, can you pay for whatever your family needs? Can I put I don't even have a girlfriend, but like, can I put my future child's fund, like, can I start a fund already? Like, I'm doing that already. I don't even have a kid, but like, I'm thinking about those things already. And like, my family would not even think about that. They think about putting it on your savings and set in stone, but ain't nobody talking about inflation. And I go for hours, but like, I don't know, but like, I feel like we deserve this. It was uncomfortable talking about it with my family at first, and they would laugh at me because we're limited with that. We just have limited resources, and like, so it sounds funny, but like, I just think it's important. And also, like, not even talking about money, like, as a man, like, talking about well-being, routine is important to me. I like cleanse myself every day, like, that's important to me. And then like, I could just think about talking about that with my family, and they'll probably laugh at me again, but it's like, it's important for me though. Like, it's like, it's part of my life now. Yeah, self-care.
I think so. I think for me, it's like reframing. There's wealth, there's financial wealth, but like holistic health. I mean, wealth, holistic wealth. I think that's, like, for me, like, that's the big picture, right? I mean, there's definitely conversations about generational wealth and how we deserve to experience that and, create legacies and all of these things. But like, holistic wealth, being, again, just like complete beings that show up into spaces unapologetically. That was not a space that historically we were allowed to occupy. For all of the reasons that we know, but a lot of it is just because we didn't know that we could. We simply didn't. And I have so many stories where I think about, like, I told my mom I wanted to join the honor choir when I was young. And her response was, "Ay, esa déjala para gente que puede cantar," you know? And she wasn't trying to diss me. I think that, like you said, it was just kind of like limited in the way that they could dream. They weren't taught to dream really big. They were taught to survive. And I think that I, as a byproduct of my parents, right? I mean, I've struggled to unlearn that, and I've started to dream bigger. And with that have started to own labels that I'm very comfortable and proud of. I am a Latina, I am a woman, I am a femme, I am queer, I am an immigrant, all of these things, and all of those things are beautiful. They make me more beautiful, and I deserve to be here. We all deserve to be here, like unapologetically so. I'm no longer apologizing for taking up space. I deserve it. We all deserve it.
I love that.
Can I follow up with a question? So part of the theme and sort of the inspiration behind this conversation, and it was very intentional why we asked you three to be here as well. It's this sort of like story and inspiration behind senses, sentidos, right? And having known each one of you at different moments, it's like, you know, it's very tactile, very like scent oriented, very taste oriented, given what you guys do and what you like to sort of explore. And I'm curious just if you have, because something you said right now is like oftentimes we find unlearning many things from our childhood or trying to push the boundaries, but I'm also curious of what you've kind of like retained and what kind of like pushes you in that moment, like whether it's a memory of like taste or touch or whatnot, like from your family or from history. What comes to mind when it comes to the senses?
I think about music a lot. We love music. Brown people love music. I think about that a lot, and I think about color. I love color. I'm dressed in very neutral colors, but I love color. I mean, I think that we're all, it seems like a really creative space. It's like aesthetically driven. Color resonates so deeply with me, and in a way that I don't even think that I intentionally show up with. It just, you know, I was born in Mexico, but if I ever spend enough time outside of Mexico and I go back, like the things that really touch me are the vibrancy in colors. Every time I see color when I'm in Mexico, it just, it hits really deeply and personally. So yeah, I think the sound of music that I know that we love, but like the way that color just like really, it just encompasses everything that we do. We love fucking color.
Which color and what song?
I gravitate heavily towards the color yellow. What a bright, fun color. Yeah, I almost wore a yellow blazer today, but felt like my shoulder was hurting and wanted to be comfortable. Because I'm 37 and weird things happen to your body. And when it comes to music, I mean, I'm ever changing, but I super always go back to bomba estéreo. I love bomba estéreo. I think I don't even know what part of Latin America they're from. Yeah. I feel like Lucy, do you know the answer to that?
Don't ask me.
I might answer this question a little bit differently because I just remember of a story right now. Like, since we're in Little Village, this is where I grew up I used to be ashamed of telling people where I'm from, and this is a real story. Like when I was in college, like in my 20s, I used to tell people I was from Pilsen because Little Village was uncool. Honestly, let's talk about Little Village a little. like we don't have now. It's like now we have this space where it feels like we could do things, you know. But before, I was only allowed to walk Petrosky Park back home. I couldn't pass Pulaski. It was not a thing back then. I couldn't pass the street Pulaski. So like I used to be ashamed of like the way I grew up. So like now I'm just proud of the way I grew up. And I think like when you asked about what are some things that we kept, I talk about this community so much. Like this community is so important to me. I could not say no to be in Little Village. Like, it's just like, it matters so much to me in my history. And I was born here, and I always bring up the way I grew up, and it might not be as vibrant, but I just take so much pride in it.
Is there a scent, sound, noise, something that comes to mind?
Yeah, because there's a lot of positive things out here. Like, it's just like, I think a sense of community, like just the music too, the laughter. Back in the 90s, it was like, it just like, it was just normal to like walk around and talk to people, and those laughters, like, yeah.
Freestyle with the laughter.
Yes.
I can literally picture like people laughing and talking to each other at some point. You know, I always think about like the good old days when I was 7. So for those of you who don't know, SBJ Essentials was inspired by a memory, the memory of touch. So my grandmother and I would have these incredible self-care moments, and she would whip up this beautiful oatmeal honey mask. And I was 9, and I would be like, Abuela, I want to join you. And she's like, you're too little. And I'm like, no, I want to be fabulous. Please put this mask on me. So during the pandemic, when I was out of work, nobody wanted me to touch their face, out of work, crying on my couch, I was like, what am I going to do? Again, you know, taking back to Alex's story of the fight or flight, you know, like as Latinos, we're taught to shapeshift, and shapeshifting quickly. You know, it's like, what are we going to do next? And I was like, what's getting me through this uncertain time? And for me, when that memory popped in my brain, and I was like, I could feel her touch of spreading that oatmeal honey mask, I was like, self-care. I'm like, that's what's getting me through this crazy time. That's what's inspiring me at the moment. So I would say in the sense of feel, it would definitely be touch and that memory with my grandmother. But I'm curious to know for you guys, is there a memory that you've experienced that has ignited inspiration? Is there something that in a moment where you were like, wow, like this is inspiring, this is why I do what I do, or, you know, along those lines?
I'll go first this time. In Mexico, my grandfather owned a guava farm, and this story.
Guavas are delicious.
Yeah, so like guavas in Chicago, they're like this tiny. Guavas in Mexico are like literally like bigger than an apple and a tomato. So the reason why I have this ring is because of my grandfather. It's green. It's supposed to tell a story of the guava farm. It has guava plants on the side, and so guayabas are really important to me. And like it kind of like pushes this other project I'm working at right now, and it's just like I'm gonna tell a story around that. I'm not ready to like work on that, but eventually I'm gonna tell a whole story with the guayabas. And like, yeah, guayabas symbolize so much to me and my family. Yeah.
Full transparency, I have a terrible memory. Like truly, genuinely, I don't know. I'm like, is it trauma related? I don't understand. I have so little memories of childhood and growing up. Like that is just my honest truth. But I do have very, very deep, fond memories of being at the park. So I grew up in East LA, in a place called City Terrace, right by Cal State LA, if anyone knows where that's at. But we used to, my brother was really active in sports. I was like in T-ball, and that is how we spent our weekend. So we would all go to the park, you know, much like so many families. But there was something really special about it. It was like a space to just be like a kid run around. You know, I was there to like support my brother, but also was just like doing my own thing the entire time. It was one of those moments where you knew that you felt like no one was watching you, but when you look back as an adult, you're like, everyone was watching you, right? There was a whole community centered around that. It's like the kids are running out, but there's always a parent nearby making sure that the kids are okay. And so I think about the park a lot. I think it was like my first, one of the first moments that I realized what community looked and felt like. It was everyone looking out and caring for each other in a way that was so subtle that the children don't even realize it.
That's
Yeah.
so wholesome. Such a wholesome. Like she doesn't remember much, but that is wholesome.
I remember posadas también.
Let's talk about No, thank you for sharing. That's amazing. I guess, one of my final questions for me, Miguel can have, as many as he wants next, is as an entrepreneur and as a creative, I feel like we're always striving for more, right? And I think that's when a lot of the burnout happens and your passion starts turning into a 9-to-5 question mark. So for me, I've put some thought into what enough looks like, right? So what does enough look like? And I've learned that in my world, enough looks like moments. So when I was younger, enough looked like a $sign with an amount behind it. And I found myself pushing my passion and chasing the $sign instead of the moments that I was living and creating as I was getting to that financial freedom. Don't get me wrong, I still love my money, but now enough is looking more like moments and being present and experiencing, like this talk. It's so beautiful that we're able to connect and share our rich stories. I feel like Latinos have so much culture, so much to offer, such beautiful stories from, their immigrant parents to how we've grown up in scarcity, if we, have that in our lives, to family. We're so deeply rooted in family. I feel like there's always that one person in a Latino family that you'll always remember, So what does enough look like for you guys?
I guess at the moment, right, will always be an evolving question for every individual, but at the moment, it feels like genuine gratitude. I think there's a thing as forced gratitude, where we're like forcing ourselves to feel gratitude for the things that we have. I'm guilty of this all of the time. It could be worse, but finding genuine gratitude in a way that allows you to feel truly present. There is nothing more calming than being present, right? Like truly locked in the moment, where you're not fixated on the past or, thinking 2 steps or 2 steps behind or 2 steps ahead. Like finding yourself truly in the moment, grounded, present. Those moments are hard to come by. Like if we can be honest with each other, like those moments are hard to come by. And when I find myself in those moments, those moments do feel like I'm doing something really good. I feel good. This moment is enough. I feel genuinely grateful. I'm happy. Yeah.
When is it enough? I have a lot of goals in my life, and it might be contradicting because I was like living a balanced life, but it does require a lot of work. But something that I'm trying to change now, it's like you don't always have to be the one working in front of a computer to complete something or whatever that requires. So for me, I do want to launch some of my next businesses and get into property and buying
Tell us, Alex.
I'm looking at land in Mexico. I'm working on my citizenship in Mexico as well. In my dad's town, I'm trying to make a garden in Mexico, like where my dad is from. So I have all these goals, but like, all right, so when is it enough? I don't even know how to answer this question, because for me, like, I just don't want to always be working, but you're able to complete tasks. And like, as a business person, I'm able to hire people to complete something for me. So it's not always like I'm burning myself out, but I'm still able to complete something that's that I always dreamt of, you know? Yeah. So I don't know when I said enough. I'm sorry, I don't have that answer.
I think that's still so valid and so beautiful, because a lot of the times we feel like we need to have the answers, right? We're taught that, like, you need to know what's next, you need to know when enough is enough, etc. And I cheated because I thought about this question, but it's okay to not know when enough is. And I think that's why this conversation is so amazing, because we're able to leave this room with these thoughts, and these thoughts can evolve into different perspectives that we now have. And you know, now we're able to think about when is enough? Like, when does enough feel good for me? And as Alex said, like, we have these goals and, you know, these places that we want to reach and all these things. And I feel like in entrepreneurship, you really learn how to delegate, which was one of my hardest things, being a Taurus, being a Virgo, Cancer rising, whatever that means, you know? So for me, it was like, I need to do it. I need to have control. I know what I want. I, you know? And as cliche as it sounds when people are like, there's no I in team, that is so true, you know? So I really relate with what Alex said, in the sense of, you can have multiple goals, multiple aspirations, and still be able to accomplish them without feeling the burnout, understanding that you can delegate tasks to different people, and offering them that trust, which I think is one of the biggest things, you know, for me, is like, do I trust you to take care of this? I'm checking in like 10 times, you know? So that trust. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Do you have any other questions?
No, I was just curious if because we did say this would be a dialogue, if there's any comments or questions that you may have for them, or something that you want to contribute. I think this is very important. Ideally, I would love to have everybody sit up here and have this conversation with you. So any learnings or any questions, I would love to open that space for everybody here.
Like, I was an educator, I'll pick somebody. Got my eye on you. Who wants to go first?
This was incredibly applicable, everything y'all said. And I've recently realized, as I'm sure a lot of us do, that I just don't have very healthy work habits. And I overdo it and don't prioritize the right things. So like, basically everything everyone said was like, I was like, oh, this was where I was supposed to be right now. But so how are you conscientious with your time and schedule to make sure that you're like not killing yourself, but also getting shit done?
Anybody want to take that?
Sure. Like I said, I have 2 jobs, and they're both very full-time jobs, depending on how proactive I want to be, specifically with real estate. And in the beginning, that was very, very difficult for me to figure out how not to work all of the time. So this part 1 of this answer is going to be super boring. My calendar helps me out so much, right? Like, being organized is truly the best use of my time. It's kind of like setting yourself up for success. All of those boring things that you've heard in the past, they are a little bit true. But also like just getting really comfortable with saying no. Like that feels really, really hard, but there's a moment where you just have to get comfortable with saying no, that's too much. No, I don't have the capacity to do that, or the desire. I don't desire to do that. Like that is okay. I don't want to do that. That's okay, you know. And whether it comes to like work stuff or social stuff, like, yeah, just if you can get more comfortable with saying no, I think that really helps you out as a human.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I used to say yes to a lot of things, and like when I started saying no, I have a good habit of like looking at what's in front of me and like in like a bird's eye view. So like I was like, okay, this year or like for the next 3 years or whatever it is, Spotify, my app is real estate, and this perfume I'm working on. So all those things, and honestly, I don't care about anything else. I'm hyper focused. So, but at the same time, like that's a lot of stuff. So like, how do you not burn out? I think burning out is like uncool, and it's kind of tacky, like that lifestyle. But again, it's like you're able to delegate. Like that's one thing that was really hard to me. In my previous app, I'm the one that designed it, and there was a point in time where I just like told myself I'm not gonna design anymore. I'm gonna hire someone to design. So in the last 2 years, I did not design anything. I hired someone to design it, but it does require trust. It does require checking your ego. It does require being a leader and being able to teach certain things and being able to communicate differently. And I also hired a social media person for my app, and it was so bad at first, but then I was like, I'm not just gonna like say this is not working. I'm gonna be like, yo, let's grow together. And I see myself as a leader now, and I'm trying to be like a good leader and not a bad leader that's like toxic. So it's about letting things go and not feeling that anxiety when you like delegate those things. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? There's one over there. Yeah.
So I feel like in my life, in my career, something that I personally struggle with is imposter syndrome. So looking at all of you, could you maybe give an example of maybe a moment in time where you decided you were going to break that cycle? And what was it? Or how did you, or if you even experienced imposter syndrome in a space?
So for me, this is very trauma rooted. So growing up in America, we immigrated here with my mother and my sister. And there was nobody in my second grade class that looked like me. Like absolutely nobody. Nobody spoke Spanish. There was no Kids Left Behind, no ESL. I was on my own. So every time I would look around the classroom and I felt like I didn't belong, like immediately. And this brings it back to one of the reasons why formulating SBJ Essentials with melanin-rich skin in mind is so near and dear to my heart, because I always felt that I didn't belong in this space. I would go to, your local retail stores and look at the skincare aisle, makeup aisle, and I'm like, dang, I hope this medium light fits me, So for me, it was almost like an epiphany moment of waking up one day to go to high school. And I was like, I'm so cool. Like, literally one day, I just woke up and was like, I'm cool. And, it takes it back to, like, that self-care element that a lot of the times it really does begin with how we speak to ourselves. We all have your yin and your yang, your little angel, your little devil voice inside, and we have a choice to listen to one or the other, and we have a choice to change the dialogue within ourselves. We have that ability to say, today, I'm gonna be nice to myself, because at the end of the day, this, cocoon, this vessel that we have is the only thing that can propel us through our life. It's the only thing that nourishes us. It's the only thing that presents us to the world. So I guess a tip would be to, have more of that self-love and waking up and telling yourself that you are worthy, that you do belong, that the opportunities you do get are meant for you. And, I think that self-love is definitely the number one thing. And it's a little hard sometimes when you're like, I suck. We all have those moments. But just bringing it back and being like, I'm worthy. And you might not believe it at first. You really might not. But the more you say it, the more it becomes a part of who you are.
I have two experiences that I could share, but there's one of my friends from college. I remember I was visiting him in San Francisco, and he told me this one thing that always stood out to me. He's all like, no one knows what they're doing, honestly, but there's people that are more confident, and they seem like they know what they're doing. So it's like, are you gonna let those people that are more confident, that doesn't know what they're doing, overrule your experiences and things you have to share? That's what he told me, and it always stood out because I was that person that would never talk at a meeting. I always thought my skills, I felt like I shouldn't be sharing something because I was kind of scared or nervous. But there's a story that happened. All right, so I was at U of I majored in design. One of my first projects was to design a poster of something about the world, and I remember it was a team project, and no one knew who I was. I was this ghetto-ass kid, literally from the hood, sitting next to all these white people hanging in front. Like, no one, literally wanted me to be their partner, and I remember that feeling, like, no one. And except for there was this one girl at the end. She was like, do you want to be partners? I was like, yeah, let's do this together. And low-key, our project blew everyone off. And after that, everybody wanted to work with me, because I've been designing for years. Like, I've been designing since high school. So I've been designing prior to them. So after that, I kind of gained some confidence. I was like, wait a minute, time out. Like, why did I devalue myself, come in like I didn't know anything, when I have all these things I could share? And then same thing happened at my first job. And honestly, no one knows what the fuck they're doing. It's the way you go about it that kind of shows that confidence, or you know what you're doing. And that's for the way I learned. And it's you're gonna figure things out, so that's it.
I experience imposter syndrome, I feel like every goddamn day. Let's get fucking real. Anyone else here in this room? I would dare say every hand probably would raise their hand even though they didn't. I think we all experience it. I think it's a pretty universal and human experience, regardless of the color of your skin, your gender, your sexuality. I think some intersectionalities will force you into that imposter syndrome more heavily than others. That's a very real thing. And I don't know that I've had a moment. It's a lot of little moments, right? It's like this moment, why does anyone care what I have to say? Why am I here? It's moments like these where I'm like, maybe someone does want to hear what I have to say. Maybe I do have something to say, But yeah, I don't know that it's been one specific moment. It's just little moments here and there that just remind me that we are not a single one of us are alone in the experience of being lonely and scared. And that we all have a voice, and maybe that's enough. I don't know. I'm an Aquarius.
So am I, so I get you. No, I'm loving this. I think what I want to kind of like taper off with is more a provocation and a continuation. And I love that towards the end, you brought in the word design, because it's a very unfamiliar word for the Latinx community at the end of the day. I think we all live it. We think we know what it is. My parents still don't know what I do. They really think I'm a graphic designer, and that's what they tell other people. And it's okay, even though they kind of like the tangibility still doesn't make sense. And you know, it's humorous and we laugh about it, but I think it's still an uncommon space where we don't have a voice very frequently, or where people don't give us the credibility or the opportunity often, because they're like, what do you know about design? So I leave you with that more than anything. I hope this conversation continues around that, because we have incredible designers throughout this room, and I hope, whether that's like the sort of like Venn diagram that brings us together, or that continues this conversation in some way. And I want to thank you, everybody, for not saying no when you could have, because I would love to continue these conversations for our community, for ourselves, and kind of like inspire each other more than anything, and uplift us. So thank you for being here, for sharing, for being vulnerable. Thank you to our friend Mateo. Awesome. Yeah. Perrier, everybody who's here, Flores Camposanto, and please continue this conversation. So I don't want to conclude this conversation. I want to invite you to continue it as we kind of like taper this off. So thank you for being here. Appreciate you all.